Alright, so Uranus went into Gemini. It finally left Taurus for the first time in 7 years. And it did this on 7/7/25. We're going to clear up the misunderstandings around Uranus, of which there are a lot. As the ruler of Aquarius, it has a rightful association with the collective, with groups and community. But Uranus itself is concerned with individuality. And as a result, there tends to be a lot of misunderstandings. We're going to go over how Uranus affects each sign and how to overcome the seeming conflict between individual self and the supportive collective. So Uranus has entered Gemini. It will be in the first 10 degrees of Gemini until May 30th of 2028. That's quite a long time for everybody who was born in the first 10 degrees of each zodiac sign. At some point between now and 2033, every zodiac sign will experience Uranus' presence in Gemini in some way, shape, or form. So if your sun's in the sign of Gemini, if you were born in that time frame, in the season of Gemini, then you're experiencing a new beginning as far as Uranus is concerned. This is also a fulfilling point. As Uranus comes back to conjunct your sun, meaning join the same degree, you're going to begin a new 84-year cycle. Obviously, this extends beyond most people's lifetimes, and an entire Uranus cycle probably fills many people's lifetime. But Gemini, this is different than if Saturn was beginning a new cycle with you, or Neptune was beginning a new cycle with you, or Pluto was beginning a new cycle with your sun, with your zodiac sign. When this transit occurs, and you enter into this new beginning, it's time to set your sights on who you'd truly like to become in the next 42 or so years. This is the seed planting stage. And the idea is that by the time you get back here, if you were to live 200 years, let's say by the time you get back here in 84, you want to experience fulfillment. You have an idea about what you want to create, but with the sun, it really is about your self-expression. And Uranus is concerned with creating in you a sense of individuality. He wants to eliminate any blockages, and that's where these sudden and erratic changes come from. Is that Uranus is going over your sun and eliminating any blockages. It does this through sudden flashes of illumination, but it also does this by breaking up the structures of your reality. This is why many astrologers would say Taurus didn't really have a chance to be on solid ground the way they would have liked over the last 7 years. Their new beginning came with the fact that they were probably holding on to other people's values, which is a common mistake for Taurus. To get them back on track, Uranus had to break up those structures, and they likely broke them up by causing a sense of betrayal in a lot of Taurians. Relationships would fall apart if they were toxic to the Taurus, or if they had outsourced their comfort to another person. If they had adopted another person's values for the sake of merging with them, then Taurus would have experienced a lot of shakeups when Uranus was going over their sun at some point in that 7-year period, till they learned that those things were a blockage to their true essence. And that's what Uranus is concerned with. It's concerned with getting at the heart of your true essence. If you've read anything about Uranus, then you would have read about the individuation. And so what happens is, in an attempt to get you back to your true self, Uranus has to break up anything that's not aligned. So Gemini now will have to experience this new beginning. We can't start a fresh cycle. We can't plant seeds that will grow into something unique and unconventional, which is what we all are at our core. We have our own gifts and abilities. We have our own uniqueness that only we can offer to a collective, to a community. And the key word to us offering that to the community is a resonance. It means it has to be our community. It means if we're great at bowling, we have to kind of our skills to the bowling club and not the golf club. It just wouldn't make sense. There has to be a certain level of discrimination. You have to use your skills in order to, or rather, you have to be around the right people. The people who are supportive of and nurturing of your skills. If you join the bowling club and your skill set, your unique gift is to be a great bowler, then that would be right on par. Your gifts would enhance the community, and the community would be enriched by the nurturing of your individual gifts. Now, the golf community would not be so enriched by your bowling skills. And by the same token, this could be something completely different where we're not even talking about sports. But it's just a good analogy for you to understand. Uranus isn't there to bust your beans. Uranus is there to get you back to your individuality. So Gemini, we have to figure out earlier rather than later what's been blocking you. Allow Uranus to come over and get rid of all the things that are blocking you from the liberation. The freedom of Uranus is to truly be yourself, to not give a crap what anybody thinks, and to engage in a sense of self-approval. And that's going to be that way for everybody. For you, Gemini, you're at the beginning of this phase. Everybody else is somewhere else, like Taurus just had their new beginning. So for you, Taurus, you're at a place where you're basically just operating on a very unconscious sense of who you are. And this new beginning is coming instinctually. You're setting out into the world, and for the next 7 years, as Uranus makes its semi-sextile, which means it's going to be 30 degrees away from your natal sun, you're going to tap into your natural instincts for approving of your own self, what you want to do, or rather approving of your values, sticking to those values no matter what, risking disapproval, and deriving a sense of inner comfort that allows you to be comfortable being yourself. If you've been resisting this, if it's been hard for you to make this transition, then you may find it equally hard to tap into those instincts of yourself. If you've resisted this and you've doubled down on outsourcing your comfort to others, so if you've continued to be dependent as a Taurus, then this next part of the cycle may be very tough as you're trying to tap instincts, but you didn't really plant the seeds properly. It's in a crawl to get milk as a baby, but you just haven't fully been born yet, so to speak. The good news is that while Uranus was in Taurus, you probably were forced to, on some level, get back to your essence. For Gemini, you're going to be able to get rid of the points of view of the people who don't resonate with you, which is what air is really about. It's got to share information, but we also have to have a filter, right? And in Aquarius, which Uranus rules, we're channeling information from higher powers, from higher sources, from our guides, and then we're bringing those ideas into the world. But we also have to have a filter on what we channel. No point in Uranus's whole thing will it say, do what's best for the collective, unless what's best for the collective is your own personal gifts being fully developed in a non-sacrificial way. So there is no self-sacrifice when it comes to Uranus. It doesn't exist. And then any astrology book that contradicts itself, which is pretty much all of them, who tell you that at some point the collective needs become bigger than your needs, is telling you to uproot yourself from the alkaline soil that supports you, or the acidic soil that supports you, and go into a soil that does not support you. It's telling you to, on some level, go from the communities with which you're resonant and start getting rid of yourself so that you can accommodate the communities and the groups that are not resonant. As a Gemini, your own point of view you must take on the points of view of other people as a Gemini. The thing is, you have to take on the points of view of people who actually accomplish your desires or can help you build the skills necessary to accomplish your desires. And then that exploration where you're communicating and you're learning and you're teaching is the fulfilling journey of Gemini. Uranus is going to try to get you back there, get you back to your essence. You have to let this happen by not being afraid of setting a higher filter on your communication. As an air sign Gemini, like a horrible Gemini, whatever. As an air sign Gemini, your nervous system can become taxed. This happens easily for you. Your nervous system gets overwhelmed, your nervous system gets taxed, and then you have a bunch of problems. When you start trying to solve everybody's problems with your knowledge, where you try to offer too much of your genius to the wrong groups and the wrong people, because once we get to Libra, which is cardinal air, so where we start, where that air trinity starts, cardinal air, Libra, we really create a sense of harmony. is the desire. Well, Gemini is connected to this. It's not divorced from this harmony. And harmony means resonance. It means that somebody is in line with our point of view, which we establish in Aries. See what I'm saying here? Uranus is trying to get you to stay aligned with your true self, to risk disapproval, people who don't approve of your point of view, and to stick within the communities that enrich you and are in harmony with you. Now, if you're a Cancer, Uranus is going to be in your sign in 7 years. You're at the end of a long cycle, depending on how long you've been alive, right? 7 years per sign. I mean, you're only 21. You've only ever been within this 90-degree framework. But if you're in your 40s or late 30s, then you've experienced quite a bit of Uranus' cycle. And as a Cancer, this is the time when you're going to be channeling yourself like you never have before. You're not even going to realize it, but you're just not going to conform anymore. All the work that you've done, even if you're only in your 20s right now, let's say, or your teens, all the work you've done through Taurus, and now as Uranus goes, and through Aries, through Taurus, now as Uranus goes through Gemini, has led to the point now where in this next 7 years, you can validate your feelings above all else. You can listen to your emotional compass. You can nurture yourself in ways that you haven't been able to do in your entire life up until now. Even though in 7 years you're really coming to your actual fulfillment point of the synodic cycle, meaning from one conjunction in the same degree, 84 years to the next conjunction in the same degree, even though you're coming to the end of that in about 7-8 years. And then obviously, if you're at the end of Cancer, it could be more on top of that. But still, this is the personal fulfillment. If you're under 28, meaning you haven't had your Saturn return yet, and you're in Cancer, then you came here to experience this portion of the cycle because your spirit had a gift for accessing its individuality in ways that other groups of Cancers just hadn't had. But if you're under 45, 42, you haven't even had a half a Uranus cycle yet. And it really applies to you too. You've only been on the waning half of this cycle if your sun's in Cancer, if your zodiac sign is Cancer. As a result, you're really a different batch of Cancers, meaning you came here to produce externally by using your true individuality. People over 40 may have had to do quite a bit of work on the waxing half to develop this sense of individuality, ability to nurture the self, to trust one's own feelings, and to be able to risk disapproval even when others are trying to invalidate them. They may have felt more pressure to conform to the responsibilities of the family, the home, the moms, the parents. And in coming into themselves, they may have rejected the responsibilities that their parents put on them as they tried to access their individuality when Uranus was in Cancer. So you get like Gen X type of rebellion or something. And now, as we enter Uranus and Gemini, Cancers really get to stop caring about what other people think about what their emotions are telling them is right, about the directions that they've chosen to go, and the external achievement that they'd like to build. And this is when all your spiritual skills, Cancer, will reveal themselves, the more unconventional gifts that you came here with, and your natural gifts in the sign of Cancer, like connecting with a higher power, channeling that energy by inviting that in and creating a bond, emotional bond, which actually heals the physical body. There are all sorts of Cancerian gifts that you're going to be able to start to access now and begin to use, but it's not going to be through a conscious method. It's just going to come to you. You'll just know. You'll just feel it. It'll just happen. And you need to trust this process. And if there's blockages to that, then once again, what's Uranus going to do? It's going to get rid of them. Groups, the wrong communities, the wrong people, nurturing, offering your nurturing and your care and your energy to people who are not aligned with your goals and with the home life and the foundations you set up for yourself. They're going to have to go. Uranus will see to that so that your true skills can come forth and you can be unapologetic about it. Again, there's no sacrifice with Uranus. Now, Leo, you're in a unique position. This next 7-year period for you is actually revealing to you a lot about how to produce the external results through the roles that you're playing. Now more than ever, Leos are going to fully step in to who you want to be. Again, Uranus does not care about what other people think. It is all about self-approval. It's going to be this way for every sign, but it's going to be different. At this point for Leo, it's about actually building and producing the thing that you want, using the skills that you have already built up throughout an entire Uranus cycle, all the way to this point, in order to cash in on opportunities for individual expression that actually light up your heart like you had never had before. This may mean that you really will not want to work on anything that is not truly the dream. You'll be very tired of playing roles that have blocked you up, and if you've been overgiving to people who don't share the same goals as you, then this will be a time when Uranus dissolves that stuff. And so if there isn't room for an opportunity now, there will be. The last 7 years when Uranus was in Taurus for you, Leo, was a tough time. This was the time when you really had to start to figure out, how can I be much more me, and get back to that. And you also had to try to figure out how to produce results for yourself by being your true self. But this was more where, like, you didn't really have a choice. You had to get back to yourself. Now that you're kind of back there, you've become more conscious of who you are. If you did the work, right? If you didn't resist, and you didn't just let the tension of Uranus break you down, and then have to continually break down a new structure, another structure, the same structure. If you didn't keep doubling down on what was, and you allowed the time that Uranus was in Taurus to help you get in touch with your gut instincts, with the parts of you that just recognize the opportunities that light you up and which ones don't, to recognize the people who reciprocate and which ones don't, and then to play roles for people who are, once again, if we go back to air, who are resonant with the dream. And for you, Leo, it's about playing roles that allow you to live your dream. What's the point if you can't be fulfilled? And now's the time we're going to probably be able to creatively produce more with the opportunities you've built because of the practice you put in to really getting back to yourself and being yourself in the last 7 years. Now that you're there, opportunities will be created through that unique sense of self. And if you can properly align with what you want, then the right communities will just gravitate towards you as a whole. But also other people who know what you have will obviously come out of the woodwork again. But this time you should be smarter and stronger and can resist giving in to people who really don't want to go in the direction that you want your life to go. So, this time period for Leo is really about using that sense of individuality, using those more refined roles, using those refined gut instincts that cash in on opportunities, which are created as a result of you doing that work in the prior cycle. This is a super aware time of your skills, where for you, Leo, you're really taking things to the next level. And once again, how you do that is you do not care what other people think. It is just not time to let other people or their opinions about the roles that you feel good about deter you from stepping on stage and playing them, so to speak. As a Virgo with Uranus and Gemini, this is finally going to be a very active time for you. You're figuring out now how to properly produce, or how to get a sort of mass level of production going using your Virgoan systems, using your unique Virgoan gifts to actually create the fulfillment you want, which will happen in the next 21 years. So we got 7, 14, 21, and then bam, here we are. Fulfillment time. It may seem like a long time, but right now is the most productive time you will likely have before that fulfillment phase comes in. The work that you do now, the actions that you take now, have to be completely aligned with the vision that you want to manifest. If you're not aligned with your vision, you're going to end up serving a bunch of stuff that drains you. You can tell this, once again, by your nervous system. Gemini, Mercury, Virgo, both ruled by Mercury. You need to keep in mind the fact that your nervous system is a proper guide. Are the routines and the systems that you have in place producing the results that you want? If not, right now you won't have a choice. There will be a correction. And with Uranus, those corrections are never pretty, and they may really shake things up. The more aware you are of your essence to purify. Now we're getting really close to an Aquarian, Uranian type of theme here. Purify, meaning get back to our essence, which is what I've been saying this whole time, is what Uranus really wants to do. Virgo does it a bit differently. It's purifying everything by getting rid of everything that would stop the flow to that vision. So we have a vision, usually in Pisces, and as a Virgo, the job is to be of service to people in some way, and the service is usually that you create a better way, a system of doing business. These systems actually enhance the flow of everything, thereby purifying the process and allowing us to come to the vision without any friction. At this time, the friction is that if you are not serving the thing that you want to create, if you're not being conscious of that, then you may just be pouring your energy into all the little details without an idea of the system. You may be daydreaming about what you want to create. Virgo's very good at going into fantasyland and seeing the vision, but then getting up and going and pouring coffees rather than building the systems for the billion-dollar business they see in their head. Connecting these two parts of yourself is essential, and not just retreating into an escapist place. You may need more time away from people as you channel what it is that you're doing, or you may need to double down and get deeper into the weeds with people because these problems aren't getting solved without you. Without a doubt, you're going to be very active. Just really depends what you're applying these things to. More often than not, Virgo, you're going to be in the weeds, getting your hands dirty. Let's make sure that you're in the right garden, producing the right thing. And really, if you're not, this will just be a very tension-filled time. And that's where we come back to the collective side of Uranus, which is, are you around your people? Are you serving your group who's nurturing your gifts and getting you to reach your highest potential while you give your gifts back to them and allowing them to be enriched by that individual development? Now, if you're a Libra, this is going to be an amazing time. But that depends, because right now the results are coming. It's the results of all your more eccentric qualities, all your spiritual gifts for creating a sense of harmony and synergy, which leads to an actually accomplished vision, will actually be at its peak. And the creativity that flows from this time actually sets the stage for when Uranus enters Cancer 7 years from now, and you begin your most productive phase, sort of like Virgo's in now. The production really comes from the fact that you have this creative time period before it, where Uranus is in an air sign, and you are an air sign, so it creates this flow, this frictionless space, where results can manifest and you can actually see. Because this is such a long transit, it's not like the moon is going through here every month and you're just getting a monthly glimpse of, hey, where am I at, what am I doing, the hour, so to speak, month to month. You're getting an entire 7 years of Uranus in the sign, which you won't have this aspect for the whole time, Libra, but you will have it for a bit of time. Uranus will be going retrograde, moving backwards to the sign, and you'll be getting ideas. You'll be seeing how everything interconnects, because that's your skill set. That's where you lie, the harmony. Do we have shared values, harmony? Do we have a shared desire, shared vision, shared values? All these things are going to indicate whether something's in harmony or not. The results you get will be dependent on how well you've been in harmony with yourself. Libra is not divorced from Aries, right? We don't set up a point of view in Aries to then compromise that in Libra. We do not do that. We do not set up a point of view in Aries to compromise it in Libra. What we do is we develop a point of view in Aries, and as a Libra, we maintain the inner harmony that comes from sticking with that, not giving that up to give of ourselves to everybody else. What we do is we get in line. Once we get to Libra, we form a partnership. Now we can see the results of these partnerships at a time like this, and they may not be pretty. You may have been in partnerships that are not allowing for you to actually achieve your individual essence. You may be in business partnerships, relationships, all of which have not allowed for you to achieve your essence as a Libra. And your essence meaning your unique gifts, your eccentricities, a sense of self-approval, not needing somebody at the table, but like the right people at the table with you. These partnerships have to be based on this point of view that you set forth. Somebody's got to come in and share your desires, share your values, share your vision. Then you can enter into a proper partnership. Again, discrimination of the actual groups and people. So the collective, once again, nurturing the individuality. You don't just get into bed with just anybody. You get into bed with somebody who actually is supportive, who's nurturing, who wants to accomplish the same goals as you. And then you go out as a partnership and you accomplish it together. The idea is the work that Uranus does to break up any blockages to this creativity, to this ability to harmonize, to synergize, to align with people with the right points of view, which is what Uranus is all about here in Gemini. You got to get back to your truth, not just truth, but your truth. What's true for you, meaning what produces results for you? What actions when taken, what partnerships when engaged in are producing the result that you want and that are actually fulfilling to be a part of. Right? It's fulfilling for Libra to set up partnerships that lead to a goal. It's unfulfilling to engage and try to sell a partner on accomplishing a goal that they don't actually want. That's work. Harmony doesn't mean we sit there and force something. Harmony means it naturally resonates and we get there. So as Uranus moves through Gemini, expect that anything blocking that will break that up. You will find the right collective, not just random collective. You'll find the right group in the right communities, the right people. And in fact, you will likely be the one to put them together at this time because your creativity is so strong, and then that can set the stage for a more productive time on the horizon, 7 years from now. Now, Scorpio, for the 7 years prior, while Uranus was in Taurus, you were reaching a peak of an entire cycle of coming into your individual power. At that time, you were really forced to a decision, and that decision was you're either going to choose yourself or you're going to continue to empower others at your own expense. So you were either going to say, hey, I'm done empowering people who don't reciprocate. Taurus reminded you of your values. The whole point of that whole cycle that Scorpio had just worked up until that point of becoming themselves was of rediscovering the power of their own true Scorpionic gifts, was to get to this culmination point where you could bear some fruit, which is, I'm finally going to be the person capable of producing my values. So Scorpio really came into themselves at that point, even though it may have been extremely tough, because a lot of some things that were formed while you were building these skills had to be broken. And then what now is happening is that you're still at this kind of paused, slowed down time where, because of the decision you made to go out into the world and produce a life that is actually fulfilling for you and not just fulfilling for everybody else who was latched on, feeding off of your regenerative power, of your ability to empower others, people who may have been using your loyalty, your gifts, your skills. It doesn't have to be for everybody, but for most Scorpios, there comes a sense of loyalty to a fault where you give so much of yourself to a point where you can't. That stretching point where you just couldn't go against yourself any longer was when Uranus was in Taurus. And now, because of the decision you made, the decision to stick to your guns, to finally say enough is enough, and the fruit that I bear is I've come into myself, I've realized that I have to put myself first, and then allow the people who actually resonate with me to then come into my life, the people who are reciprocal, the people who actually give back to me, who are my people, to start to filter in as the wrong people are left out. All the scenery is changing in your life, and this is going to take time. We got to go through the whole 7 years of Gemini, and depending on when you were born in Scorpio, you said this, if the first 10 days of Scorpio, I'm looking at up until 2028. And then from 10 degrees to 20 degrees of Scorpio, the middle third is until 2030. And then if you're at the end of Scorpio, you got from 2030 to 2033. So there's going to be at different times you will experience different Scorpions who are born at different points in the season will experience this at different times. But it doesn't mean that as a Scorpio you shouldn't be preparing for it right now. You want to prepare for the fact that you're rediscovering or you're discovering how to apply this true sense of self that you've uncovered, the sort of fruit of yourself that you've harvested in the last 7 years, to the fulfilling results that you see on the horizon decades from now. And in order for you to produce proper results and enter this more creative time when Uranus enters into Cancer 7 years from now, where things are really going to pick up for you again, is you have to eliminate waste wherever you find it, which means as a Scorpio, sensing where the energy is and where it's not, what feels right on a gut level and what doesn't. As a Scorpio, your gut is supporting you and helping you. You've got to trust your gut. There's going to be an evaluation period as you test out different methods of expressing yourself for external manifestation versus towards individual development, which was the first 40 plus years since Uranus was last in Scorpio. Now you're working on applying all that you've become towards all that you'd like to create. So sense the energy, allow the blockages to be dissolved, allow the scenery to change as it must. And it may change quite a bit at this time. You may feel like it's hard to get real traction and get a real flow, but that flow is coming in 7 years. Now's the time to allow Uranus to optimize everything, right? It's like Uranus is going to put everything in your vehicle that you need for the long road trip ahead. This is the time where brakes are getting done and the tires are getting fixed, and we're seeing how we're testing the car on the road and then bringing it back to the shop. That's sort of how it's going to be for Scorpio. This is how we have to operate, and just be prepared that your time for full creative mode is coming and your time for optimizing is now. Now, if you're a Sagittarius, this is a particularly interesting time because you are coming into this beautiful harvest time where you're finishing up a nice waxing cycle with Uranus, meaning you've just put in the work on building skills to express yourself at the highest level, and now you will be put to a decision. And that decision will be to live your dreams or to continue to do what you should do for everybody and try to make everybody happy, which you can't do. You're either going to step into yourself fully. You're either going to step into your individuality in a way that allows you to live these dreams in the next 40 years and achieve a very fulfilling waning cycle, or you're not. And the pressure right now will be from groups of people, from communities who do not understand or trust your intuition. Those are just the breaks. Not everybody understands how you arrive at the answers that you do without all the logic. And at this time, you're going to see very clearly what those answers are. You may arrive at them through a very Gemini way, meaning you may have your intuition stimulated, meaning the things that you know will be revealed through the experience and the facts and the explorations that you undertake and the points of view of people that you come across. The people who come around and you intuitively know are actually holding you back, you should stay away from. As a Sag, people back up your intuition all the time. And Uranus is not going to have any of that. It's going to eliminate the blockages by putting a ton of pressure on you. And that pressure could be to channel your intuitive powers more and to risk disapproval from the groups who don't understand these directions. Also, Sag always has a problem with the management of mental states of others. Like, have a conversation with people and then you think, what did they think about what I just said? And then you also think, how can I get them to realize that my intuition is correct? But this kind of logical explanation, which is very common for Gemini, is not very appropriate for you, Sag. And in order to make a decision to truly be yourself, you have to allow your intuition to be shown to be correct on the back end. People will only know that you were right once you prove that you were right. You can't debate them on the front end so that you can feel more comfortable about doing what you're doing. And with the amount of external pressure that you will feel at a time like this, with the amount of groups and people that you may have to liberate yourself from at this time, work situations, etc., this is the time to be very in touch with what your intuition is, to be very clear that you're going to make 100% commitment to following that, no matter what other people in your life will think about that or say about that. And then allow the next 7 to 21 years. I hate to give you that big of a window, but it has to, because you're going to come into so much between now and then. But just allow the next 7 years to speak for itself. Make the decision to be you. And then those next 14 years on top of that, once Uranus gets to Leo in 14 years, and you're just like on this waning half, people are going to see that the decisions you made were spot on. The tough part is that you have to make them regardless of anybody being on board. That's where we're at right now. Okay, so if you're a Capricorn at this time, with Uranus going through Gemini, you may have all this part, you may have all these goals and all these parts of yourself that you really want to unleash. You want to take your Capricornian ability to use your emotions, to sense where you're at in relation to goals, and then to nurture yourself towards the achievement of those goals, and then to work with others on shared goals. Like all these things that are going through as a Capricorn, you're all business. And as a result of this, when you have to slow down a bit to get in touch with this part of yourself, this can be particularly frustrating. You've built a lot of skills in the last 30 or so years, and you're not quite at decision time yet. Right now, you have to now stop and pause and optimize, because all the skills that you built in order to fully step into yourself and your true power, and to be able to risk the kind of disapproval that Uranus requires so that you can not roll around with the wrong communities of people, the people who don't share your goals, the people who want you to nurture them and take care of them rather than operate at a high level with you, the people whose emotions you seem to cater to rather than emotions you can sense to get back on track towards these more practical goals, people you can't achieve with, people you can't do business with. All these things have happened, and now you built up these abilities and skills. Now, part of this skill building that you underwent brings you to this point right now. And Uranus is going to break up the blockages, meaning the areas where you're wasting time and energy, catering to other people's emotions, trying to fix them instead of work on your dream, so that you can finally get to a point where you work on your dream. Now that you built the skills, you have to actually apply them. The only way that you can apply them successfully to who you are and what you want to do is you have to take a serious evaluation point, and you have to allow at this time for changes to be made. Once changes at this time will be, it might be changes in business, might be changes in career, might be changes in the people and the environments in which you allow yourself to be. All these things may need to change so that you can finally step into yourself the way that you want to and make a decision to achieve the goals that are most fulfilling to you over the course of the next 50 years, close to. So right now, it's very important for you to have extreme clarity on what your goals are, and then to pay extra close attention to what things are draining your energy, stealing your resources, and taking you away from those goals. Doing so will allow you, when Uranus comes into Cancer in 7 years, to step fully into your true sense of identity, to choose your own goals and your own self, and to really reach a proper harvest period. Also, you will have consolidated your skills in such a way, not just as a master, but you'll have reached that next level where not only have you reached a point of mastery, but you've reached a point where the application of that mastery is in true Capricornian fashion as efficient as possible, period. Now, if you're an Aquarius, this is an extremely powerful time for you. You are going to master the skill of self-approval. You are not going to care what anybody else thinks anymore if you're going to create. The results may be that you've been constantly involved in seeking approval from others. That should have been corrected when Uranus was in Taurus. For better or for worse, you had no choice, but certain things were going to force you to finally get back to unconventionality. You got to channel ideas. You got to use your eccentricities to channel future ideas, things that people aren't ready for, and put them into the now. This whole clash with the collective as an Aquarian is the fact that it has to be the right collective. We're not sacrificing yourself or your desire to achieve. What you're actually aiming for is your ideal outcome. You're actually risking disapproval and engaging in self-approval, not caring what anybody else thinks. And then what you're deciding is, who do you approve of? And then that's how you find the actual groups that are supportive and nurturing of you. We'll call that the soil that you need to succeed. That's the soil that is supportive of you. Not every garden bed is going to be a great host. Not every group of people shares your ideals, shares your wishes, shares your desires. It wants to go where you want to go. And nobody else can channel these Aquarian ideas. Nobody else has those abilities. Your job is to let this time period be among the most creative. This is really more about self-development now than it is about producing something greater. And that self-development now is to get back to your own truth and also develop the actual skills you need to achieve the vision that you see. Right? We're 14 years from harvest time, and the harvest is your true individuality. And right now, you are entering the time. You've done all the hard work to finally become a master of your own sign and of your own individuality. The results at first, if you did not handle the last 7 years in Taurus well, may not be good. If you double down on dependency on others, approval, on their comfort of having that approval, of having those people in your life, then this may be a time that the results manifest and they're not necessarily the ones you wanted. Now, the good news about that is that seeing the results can allow you to take advantage of this creative period anyways by saying, hey, this isn't what I wanted to manifest, but now I have all these great ideas. I'm able to channel like I couldn't before, and I can get right back on track by channeling what it is that I really desire, who I really want to be, who I really am, right? The true me. I can let go of the idea of needing others' approval, and then I can actually step fully into my Aquarian self and bring these ideas out into the world on the waning half if I master these skills now and have fun actually being myself and manifesting the fruits of who I actually am. That's what we need to look for. That's what we need to have our sights on is 14 years from now. This is the most creative period. You don't want to get to here where it's time to really get more optimal and take care of yourself in 7 years by slowing down. You want to take this period where things are speeding up to get really aligned with yourself so that your wishes can come true down the line. Now, if you're a Pisces, you're having this nice waxing square here. This is great because what's happening for you is Taurus, you were able to reconnect with your values, hopefully, and how those are part of the individual gifts that you have. The values really stem from your Piscean vision as a whole. It's like these come from your spiritual vision of what we want to manifest, and the physical counterparts to that, the things we act to gain and keep, are the values. And as a Pisces, you can really feel the future, sense how to create this thing. At this time, if you've really become conscious of those abilities and those... Now, as a Pisces, if you become truly conscious of these abilities that you have, to feel the future, to begin to work with a higher power to manifest whatever the spiritual vision is, this set of conditions in which you'd like to live, and then the actual living in them, if you work with that flow, then this can be the most productive time to use your individual gifts and abilities to actually begin to produce this version of yourself, this very potent version of yourself. And as a Pisces, that potency really comes from creating in tandem with these other realms. You really have a spiritual team with you that you're leaning on and listening to and is actually helping you bring things in. It's not so much about you having to do all the labor, it's about you sort of getting out of the way and allowing these things to flow by being in touch with that harmony, in touch with that rhythm. Now, if you've been more of the sensitive or more self-sacrificial type of Pisces, then this could be a very tough time for you, because Uranus is not going to stand for you having eliminated yourself from the equation. And you'll have to get back to a sense of self and a sense of your own personal vision, and not just this more altruistic thing that you may have convinced yourself to do before, where you're like, I just need to give up myself to X, Y, and Z. Uranus is going to say, whoa, you can totally be of service to something spiritually and physically, but you cannot do it at the expense of yourself. Uranus is not going to like that very much. And you may fight against Uranus the whole way, and you may see everything that Uranus does as some sort of spiritual, you may see it as some sort of spiritual sign. You're supposed to go through all the nonsense. But really, it's like you wouldn't be going through the nonsense if you got back your sense of self and got back on path. Like a sign of turbulence. Turbulence is not at all what you should be experiencing. There should be a sense of flow that is constantly going, and then to get out of this flow means to get away from yourself and to get away from your higher power, to try to force things, to not be aligned with your vision. To be self-sacrificial is to exit this flow, and then to think that somehow it's your duty to endure all these types of things can be no good. It sort of plays on a more Piscean ego level, and the fact that you need to be the person to lead everybody to the light or something. On a higher level, you could be really producing your vision at this time if you're in touch with yourself. I gave you an extreme example here, but these are the things that can happen. Lesser level, but no less destructive, is feeling like you have to have this sense of duty to everybody else, but it's your job to take care of them, and Uranus is going to come in and light that up and just say, we're not doing that anymore. We're done with that. And it's going to continue to create circumstances where you have to be done with that, or else this is going to be a very tense and turbulent 7 years. So get back to yourself. You can still create a vision we all love and enjoy. You can do it without sacrificing yourself. There's no sacrifice in astrology. Self-sacrifice, not a thing. You had a child and stepped in front of a moving vehicle for them or something to save their life. Like, you did it, you paid a price. The price was that you loved them so much that they were an ultimate value for you, that you valued them above yourself. So at that point you pay a price to keep them alive. And that price just happens to be the ultimate one, which is yourself. But that is not the same as a sacrifice, which is literally putting yourself or eradicating yourself or giving up for things that are not an ultimate value, that are not aligned with your destiny. And ideally, that's an extreme circumstance. Ideally, that the things you give yourself to as a Pisces will be aligned with what's best for you. There's a reciprocal nature to you giving your energy to something and then that actually generating more energy for you. That's reciprocation. And in Pisces, we get to this place of infinites. It's not your job to play a role, but to play whatever role is necessary at the time for the achievement of the vision. And you may be called upon to play roles that are completely aligned with who you feel you are at your essential core, period. So get ready for what should be a very productive time, a very practical time where you could learn so much about yourself and develop and grow so much, and the world will begin to recognize that. But beware of, if you don't tune into that, the amount of tension and stress that could be put on you until you actually figure out that that's what we're doing here, that getting back to yourself and your vision is the way. So as an Aries, this is a very interesting time for you, because this is the first time in a little bit that you'll actually be consciously aware of this individual skill set that you actually have. And as an Aries, in a general sense, is to follow your impulses, to stick to your point of view, to create a sense of inner harmony. It's really to go after what you desire, and your ability to maintain your desires in the face of everything that's going on is what's going to create the opportunities for you right now. Big thing is that Uranus is going to get rid of and aim to get rid of anything that blocks these opportunities. And what is going to block the opportunities for you is going to be overgiving, right? Aries is concerned with the self. And that's why it's concerned with your own personal point of view, sticking to a sense of inner harmony and following your impulses to achieve that, your desires. Not giving up your desires to give to everybody else. Not giving up your routine to make everybody else happy. You got to be wary of making peace with everybody. You can't do it. So Uranus is going to try to beat out these behaviors, these more sacrificial behaviors of Aries. So when an Aries is going to do things for others that are not aligned with their desires so that they can keep peace with those people or establish harmony with externally with other people, especially if those people are not an aid to the vision, do not share the same values and desires, and are not helping the Aries achieve that. Now, as an Aries, really, you're the one who's supposed to be following your impulses and be the leader anyways. The people who are going to help you are going to be right on board with that and following you down the road. They're not going to be following everybody else. If you found yourself in this position where you're suppressing your stuff and then you're only like outbursts at times where you try to like yourself and take yourself back, Uranus is going to get rid of all these behaviors, or at least it's going to start to break up the structures that you have in place that are stopping you from reaching this, or that are stopping you from reaching your desires and your ability to use these skills consciously to begin to manifest. Your ability to consciously work on and develop these things that I talked about right here are going to allow you to have one of the most productive phases when Uranus enters into Cancer and things become extremely busy for you because you're using all your Arian gifts to create. So stay true to yourself, Aries, so that you can cash in on all the opportunities available to you at this time. And like I said at the beginning, Taurus, this is a time where your instincts will awaken to really stick to your values because you've been betrayed before and you realize that at this time to start this new beginning that may have had to happen. A sense of betrayal from the people around you, which you may have experienced while Uranus was in Taurus. And the reason that is because that would have meant that you betrayed your own values in the beginning and you were not grounded in who you were and what you wanted. Your comfort was outsourced to others. And when your comfort gets outsourced to others, you lose that sense of inner comfort, which is a really proper guide for you. When you're not working a long-range plan, you may find that you were judging other people's values more harshly because you weren't connected with yours and you weren't actually achieving what you wanted to. But then when Uranus went through your sign in the last 7 years, you leveled up and you started fresh. It's a whole new set of down. In this next 7 years, you're really going to tap into what you already innately know to be true about yourself. Your ability to work a long-range plan. Your ability to not vilify what actually brings you this sense of comfort, joy, what actually attracts to you what you want. The information and the insight is just going to flow for you. Tons of information and tons of your own truth is going to be revealed right now. Things for you are naturally coming from within right now, and you want to pay very close attention to that, Taurus, because these are really the foundations upon which you will build yourself in the future. If you just have a sense about what you should be doing, just let it come naturally and don't back yourself up. As a Taurus, what you want to do is write out your list of values, and so you're very clear and you don't take any steps back. We don't want to regress and start giving up our values. So Taurus, no steps back at this time by being clear about your values, allowing whatever you sense, whatever comes from within to flow naturally through you. And then, as you attract things into your life, you won't just merge with them for the sake of merging. You'll merge with them if you want to, and if they share your own personal sense of value and are supportive of that. This will happen instinctually if you let it. If you overthink it, if you try to get too far involved, if you once again go to outsourcing your own comfort, once again go towards dependency, you will not uncover these critical parts of yourself that are waiting to be discovered right now, that are waiting to come forth right now. And Uranus will continue to try to unblock those abilities, unblock those instincts. And if you don't allow Uranus to unblock those instincts, then this may be like a thorn in the side, because you'll feel that you have stuff that wants to come and present itself to you and guide you, stuff that wants to come through your own spiritual centers. And if you do not, and if you outsource comfort, if you aim for merging with everybody else, if you give up your values to do so, Uranus will spend this whole cycle eliminating blockages, and you will not be able to actually spend most of the cycle receiving the illumination necessary to then consciously build on this once Uranus enters Cancer in 2033. So as you can see, Uranus' whole goal is to connect you with your own essence. At different stages in its synodic cycle with all your zodiac signs, its operation is very different. Its way of getting at that essence is based on the season that you're in and the timing of where we're at. And then your ability to feel good within an Uranus cycle, to actually take full advantage of it and to not just experience the more erratic and unstable side of Uranus, is your ability to recognize that what's being torn down was actually blocking your ability to authentically be yourself. And then, if you cannot be yourself, you cannot attract to you the proper collective. And if you are worried about the approval of everybody else, you cannot properly discriminate and decide and make a good judgment about who is your group and who is supportive and nurturing of you and who is draining you, stealing your energy and taking you off course, and who are you trying to impress that it's just not working. The right groups and the right people will be enriched by your development and your potential being achieved, and they will have a proper stake in it. And you, being properly resonant and aligned with those people and in harmony with them, will actually enrich them by having done the work. So they benefit by nurturing you, and you benefit by nurturing you and having your gifts manifest and being given back to them. And you benefit by choosing yourself first, and then making sure that the people around you are sort of a proper fertilizer, that they actually have a stake in seeing you succeed, and not just in using the resources that you have without properly supporting it. So Uranus is not at all concerned with you giving up yourself, your identity, your individuality at any point to any larger group. It's about you becoming uniquely individualized so that your gifts can manifest, so that you can be fulfilled, and that at the end of the day, you can give those things to the right groups and the right people, and there won't be any sacrifice involved. In fact, it will be all about fulfillment. It will be fulfilling for you, and it will be fulfilling for them. That's how that's supposed to go.